brought to you by Accent Nominees. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I tried to have a little bit of fun, but not too much. So today's topic is doing business in Nigeria, a guide for foreigners. So this topic is for foreigners, basically, not really foreigners. They are into business, you want to collaborate with a foreigner. So if you're a foreigner and you're thinking on how to establish your presence here in Nigeria, then this discussion is for you. According to the Nigerian laws, foreigners are not restricted from settling or establishing a company here in Nigeria. A foreign individual or entity can set up a company in Nigeria and operate and also employ expatriate and also repatriate profit, meaning that a foreigner can come to Nigeria and establish its presence here in Nigeria, meaning you can establish your company here in Nigeria, but not a business. It has to be a company, a limited. It has to be a company here in Nigeria. Then Nigerian laws are not restricting that foreigners should not establish, that foreigners should not establish that these two names are also like available for you to use, that they are not taken. Then the second one is submitting registration application. So after approving these names, after CAC approve these names, the next thing for you to do is go ahead with your registration application, whereby they'll be asking you to submit some details like the company address, the company email, the shareholders details. They'll be asking you to submit secretary details. That's if you want to use a secretary. They'll asking you to submit secretary details, then means of identification and so forth. So after uploading this, you have to wait for the final submission, which is the approval. So after you submit your application, the CAC would either approve this or query, depending on if it lacks a particular information. So where it lacks an information, they will give you the reason for the query, meaning reason why they queried the particular application, what you should do. So once you do this, they approve the application, meaning that the entity is now registered under the system, meaning it is recognized. It can, go ahead to take other licenses. And I'm sure you're expecting me to say it can go ahead to do business, but for a foreigner, after CAC has approved this, there's other certain requirements you need before you can proceed to doing business. So we have business registration with Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, the NIPC. If you actually joined our first session, you would know that I already spoke about the NIPC. So I'll be talking about business registration permits under the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC. So after you've incorporated your new company with the Corporate Affairs Commission, which is the CAC, there's a mandatory requirement for the company that you should register with the NIPC before your company could legally commence any business in Nigeria. So after registering with the CAC, you have to register with the NIPC. So the NIPC is it has the primary responsibility to encourage, promote, coordinate investment in the Nigerian economy. So the NIPC also has responsibility of granting some incentives like pioneer status to any company that qualifies for such status. So pioneer status is an incentive, which is an incentive, like I said, is a tax holiday that grants qualified industries relief from paying tax for a period of 3 years, which you can also extend for a year or 2 years. That's actually wonderful. Meaning that for 3 years, you would be relieved from paying your corporate tax, and you can also extend it by 1 year or 2 years. So this application to the NIPC would involve you filing the relevant application form, providing details of shareholders and directors of the company, and paying appropriate official fee. If it is satisfied, the NIPC would issue a certificate of business registration for your entity, of course. So we have the business permit, and the business permit, expatriate quota, and work permit. So in addition to the one I just spoke about, which is under the NIPC, a foreign company wishing to operate, or you desire to operate in Nigeria, you must first obtain a business permit from the Nigerian Ministry of Interior and Expatriate Quarters. So if you wish or desire to employ foreigners, this is where these people comes in. So if you wish to bring in foreigners to work with you, people you trust from overseas, that okay, they know more about this business and the likes. So you have to go through the business, the expatriate quota. Under the Nigerian Ministry of Interior and Expatriate Quota. So the expatriate quota is a precursor to the application for and issuance of work permits to the foreigner being employed by the company in Nigeria. So once it is approved, the expatriate is issued a combined expatriate resident permit and aliens card. That's the CERPAC, CERPAC, which allows the employee to reside and work in Nigeria. The authorized share capital for this should not be less than 100 million in respect of a foreign-owned company. So a foreign-owned company, you're thinking of doing this, your share capital should not be less than 100 million. So some of the requirements that you would need for a expatriate quota, which are as follows. So you'll be needing your certificate of incorporation for them, original for citing, just for them to know that you've registered under the appropriate body, which is the CAC. And don't forget I said CAC would issue a certificate upon approval of, like, once they've approved your application, they issue a certificate. Also the memorandum and articles of association. These are documents that will be attached to your certificate once they approve the name of your company. Then your company's current tax clearance certificate. Don't forget our previous section. That's why you need to join our section where I spoke about tax clearance certificates. You need to get yours. So if you're a foreign owned company or you established a presence here in Nigeria, and you've got your certificate of incorporation, your MEMAS, which is the memorandum and articles of association, your company, you have to provide your company's current tax clearance certificate. Also, the lease agreement of C of O for operating premises. The premises you want to use, you have to provide the lease agreement. So joint venture agreement. So in case of partnership, maybe where a Nigerian and a foreigner are coming together to establish the company, there will have to be like a joint venture agreement. So you have to provide a joint venture agreement, then the visibility report. You have to provide that amongst others. Please, what I'm saying is not limited to this. You can reach out to your lawyer or check just for you to see other requirements. I just stated few. So we have the certificate of capital importation, which is the CCI. So the certificate of capital importation is a certificate that is issued to a foreign investor as evidence of an inflow of foreign direct and capital investment, either as equity or debt cash or goods. So the company will need the foreign company, your company, of course, that you've established. I hope you've done that. You can't just come and be seeking for this if you've not done that. So your company will need to obtain a certificate of capital importation from an authorized dealer, usually a local bank. Local bank they do this on behalf of the CBN. So instead of going to the CBN, you can approach a local bank, and then which it will serve as an evidence of importation of capital, which could be equity, debt, cash, or goods into the country. Meaning you can import, capital. That's the importation of capital. You can even repatriate your profits. Any profit you make, that's one of the good things. You can repatriate your profit back to your own country, either in your currency or, but most people do it in their currency. So the CCI also guarantees unconditional repatriation of capital and profit out of the country, like I said. So then this registration I spoke about are not the only ones. But the thing is that it will depend on the sector of the Nigeria, like it will depend on the sector your company wants to delve in, like the sector you want to operate in. So it may be necessary for you to obtain registration and licenses from some of the following agencies I will be talking about, which is the Central Bank of Nigeria. If you maybe are trying to go into maybe banking sector, money lending, you have to go to the CBN. Spoke about it last week. You can watch our previous session just for you to know what I'm talking about. So the National Agency for Foods and Drug Administration and Control, that's NAFDAC. So if you are going into food, cosmetics, drugs, you have to go to the NAFDAC for you to be able to proceed with operations, of course. And then Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, that's the NERC, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, then the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, the NIMASA, NIMASA. So basically, what I'm saying is that Nigeria, there is no Nigerian law that is actually restricting a foreigner from establishing its presence or establishing a company here in Nigeria. Just that you have to go through the right process for you to do that, which was what I listed above. They are not limited to that. They are more than that. You can conduct your research or approach a legal professional to assist you with your registration process. So Nigeria is a country with over 200 million people, and it operates a free market economy, meaning anybody and anybody can establish their business. There's no restriction. You can do business, you can take it out, you can bring it in. There's as long as they are legal, not illegal, they are legal. Even a foreigner cannot bring in an illegal product. Once it's already illegal, it's in the negative list, you can't bring them. Like ammunitions, you can't bring them. It has to be something legal that is approved by the Nigerian government. So which I also spoke about that. CAMA is the principal legislation that governs company registration. CAMA should not be a new thing. Most of my discussion, I'm always talking about CAMA because we talk about companies, and CAMA is one of the laws that's the primary laws that governs company registration, which their body is the Corporate Affairs Commission. So you go through the CAC for you to be able to do things relating to companies. Anything you want to do relating to company, foreigner, local, anything, you have to go through the CAC. Then from there you go to the other bodies. CAC is actually the integral part. And I also spoke about the NIPC, which has the primary responsibility to encourage, promote, coordinate investment in Nigerian economy. So any company that is wishing to employ expatriates in Nigeria must first obtain an expatriate quota, which I said, meaning you'll be seeking for resident permit, work permit. So most times the work permit have a specific period of time, which you can also extend by filing the right documents at the appropriate body. And then you can also obtain what I said that. So there are other licensing registration which you should do, but it depends on the sector which your company operates in, and it will also have to you also have to register with those agencies. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you same time